Okay, thanks to the PhD students for for browsing this video, and thanks to the students that prepared these. I'm Daniele Campobenedetto. I'm a researcher at Architecture Construction City, and I'm happy to see so many students in this virtual room, hoping to being allowed to see each other in person in a few weeks or maybe earlier. I don't want to use time and steal time from Jacopo. I will briefly introduce him and this lecture, and I would like first of all to thank Ilaria, Tommaso, Martina, Rossella, and Aurora, and all the PhD students that prepared the setting for this conference. As I was said, I'm glad to introduce you, Jacopo Ammendola, who was so kind to accept my invitation for these series of lectures. Jacopo is founder and partner at Orizzontale since 2010, and I don't think Orizzontale needs more presentation since we had the introductory video, and since you are quite a few, like 167 by now, probably you already know something about this architecture collective that deals with architecture, installation, cultural projects, workshop, research, and architect and spatial agency in general. Horizontale deals most of all with public space, and it works all over Italy and Europe alike. I would like just to add some words about Jacopo, because maybe this could be interesting for grasping other aspects of what he will say to us in the next hour. He's also a research fellow at the Department of Architecture at University of Florence, and his research deals with the communication and of and within public space. And he's also a PhD candidate, so he's like a researcher and practitioner, a teacher, an architectural teacher, but also a PhD candidate. That means he's studying something. He's in a process for research. And I think these multi-layered activity is particularly interesting for us. Today, Jacopo will share with us some of his experiences, and probably he will give us a glance about what was Orizzontale at the beginning. This, in my opinion, is something that is particularly interesting for those of you that are interested in starting their own architectural and cultural enterprise. So I really encourage you to be particularly proactive in the second part of our talk to engage Jacopo with some discussion. I guess he will also share with us some of the projects of Orizzontale, and I know for sure that he will also share with us a peculiar project that is something related to editorial environment and cultural environment. And here I would like to stress the second point for which this occasion is for me particularly interesting, because Jacopo will tell us about sort of overall spatial agency perspective. That means that he probably is able to act into space, not just by building something, by modifying the physical space, but also by curating and engaging other people with cultural project and social, and more in general social let's say exchange with what's around the Horizontale project. That's it. I used 4 minutes of your time. I don't want to use more than that. I thank again Jacopo for being here with us. I thank you for gathering together on this online meeting. And Jacopo, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Daniele Campobenedetto that invited me. And thanks for the organization by the ASP students. And thank you for the video that the students realized, and we appreciated that very much. We reposted on our Facebook. So it's a real pleasure to be here. It would be a greater pleasure to be in Torino, of course, but it's a little bit like I'm there with you. So as Daniele, Professor Campobenedetto just introduced me very kindly, and thanks for that. I'm not sure with me, I deserve all that, and but what I'm gonna speak to you about Orizzontale today. Orizzontale is a collective, and okay, I'll share the screen. Okay, so Orizzontale is a collective of architects, and it's working, and it's based in Rome, and it's working in Italy and abroad since 2010, 2011. We had some kind of foundation period stretching within these 2 years, and it's 10 years now, and it's been the official birthday of Orizzontale last year, but since we had this first year of founding process, so now it's 2021. So it's definitely 10 years that we're active, and so it's time to look back a little bit. That it's a little bit strange and also scary, but so we're doing that in this period. And today, what I would really like to do is to talk a little bit about our beginning in a way that we usually don't do, and to tell you something about our motivations and why we started our work, why we started this collective, and also try to find some lines in our work that in a way that is a little bit different compared to what we usually tell about these projects. Of course, I will not show you all the projects, but I made a selection of the ones that I think are more fit better with this kind of telling of story. So how did Orizzontale started? Orizzontale is now composed by 7 people. This is us. This photo is a little bit old, so I'm cheating a little bit. We are much younger. We were much younger then, but it's still us. And when we started our work in 2010, 2011, we were all students of architecture, so undergraduate students of architecture in Valle Giulia School of Architecture in Roma, Sapienza. And we were interested in the same things. So we found each other, and we were interested in many things that we shared together. But the 3 most important, I think it's today, I would say, were the interest in public space, so open urban public space as a place of encounter and democracy, and also as a place of change and innovation. So we shared the belief that the outdoor space in the city is very important, has a lot of power in the present and in the future of our city and our lives. Second thing was that we all wanted to challenge the boundaries of architecture, modes of action, and modes of work, because we were at the end of our period of study, and we were not so happy to the idea of being closed in an office and stay in front of the computer, and that's going to be our life. So we want to challenge this, and also challenge the boundaries, the disciplinary boundaries. So deal more with art, with landscape architecture, with urbanism, and politics, activism, all these things. The third theme that I think is very important is a broad interest in the reusing stuff. So stuff like places, ideas, objects, materials. So very much fascinated. We were very much fascinated in the idea of not throwing away old stuff, but trying to reuse, trying to discover new qualities, and opposing the spreading idea that everything must be new and must be shiny and stuff like that. So we started this, and we had some reference. So I'm going to discover and give credits to the people that inspired us. Some of them, at least, because there were many. But I think that can be interesting 10 years later to also look where they are and in which way they inspired us. So this is a list. It's pretty much arbitrary, but I think it can be useful. So the first name I would do is Exist. Exist was a collective in France of some guys that were a bit older than us, and everybody knew them suddenly because they made the extraordinary pavilion in 2006 in Venice Biennale. You go to Venice Biennale, there is all these pavilions from states, and you go there and you see architecture. And this was completely different because you went in the France pavilion in 2006, they were living there. So completely different approach. They were staying there, they stayed there 2 or 3 months, they lived there, they really had good time and meet people. They built these very strange structures, but the main thing is that they, as architects, they didn't build the thing or just design the thing and then stay home or in the office, but they were there. Second name is Raum Lamor Berlin. There is a collective from Berlin, and is very inspiring. This installation that you can see here is called Kitchen Monuments. They got shortlisted for Miss Van der Rohe European Architecture Award in 2009, I think. So it's very big achievement because it's not architecture in any classical sense at all. They inspired us in so many ways. Then some French groups, the main one I would say it's Bleu du Figaro. They were interested in landscape and doing many temporary landscapes and installations in gardens, and they had this very joyful and party-oriented way to doing architecture and landscape architecture. And then there were some projects, very interesting projects in Spain. One overall, Esto no es un solar, it was a project in Zaragoza in which some architects were reusing empty lots, temporary or permanently. This is not very important in our work, but they were just with few resources, they were giving back to the city these empty places. And then Lacaton and Vassal, they're so famous now, but they weren't so famous 10 years ago, and they inspired us in different ways. One way I can say is like this project. It's kind of famous story, but it really was inspiring for us. It's a project they made in 1996. They were asked to redesign this square in a small town in France. And they just said the square is perfectly okay. You can just use it. You don't need any redesign. So they moved the focus from the design and the looks of things to the use of the things. And then Santiago Silva was really a big model for us at the time. He was a guy from Sevilla, and he was really challenging not only the architectural boundaries, but also the boundaries of legal stuff in the city. So he was inventing all kind of legal loopholes to do whatever he liked. And in the city, in this case, he was occupying the public space with playgrounds, taking advantage of the legislation about building sites. So if you want to have a look to these people if you don't know them. Of course, you know Lacaton and Vassal now, but maybe not all of you know the others. And I would like to thank Daniele Campobenedetto because he used this expression "special agency" twice, presenting me, and so I'm gonna cover also this. This is a book. It's called Special Agency. It was published by a research group from the AEA in London. All the people that I just told about are in the book. And when we started working in 2010, there was not the book yet, but there was a very nice website that is still active. It's called Special Agency, and so you can have a look there. And it's broad and very wide archive of different way of doing architectures and interacting with public space and space in general. So there are many others. I'm thinking now that I'm saying it, I think it's a bit unjust that I didn't mention Stalker in Roma. So next time I will, but I do it now. And so let's go to the action. Starting from this research, we studied all this with these people for some months. We were really interested in different aspects of their work, but the real thing that really interested us was that their work was not boring at all. So we were pretty much afraid to have very boring lives, designing stuff and designing not very useful stuff in front of these computers in the offices, and we wanted to go in the city, to be in the space, to interact with the space, interact with the people. So we had no resources at all. We were still studying. So what we did was to organize some kind of what I would like to call architectural happenings. There were some initiatives. The first ones were just 1 day long, and the main tool for action was to build temporary furniture, temporary things, and to put them in the city and to be there, interact with the space, interact with the people. So this is the very first project. It's called Le Orecchie di Giussano. It was in Rome. The materials were recycled also because we didn't have any money, so we organized to find some kind of stuff to do things. This is some other actions in the same way. This is the red one is a device to let people check on a building site of a square, very close to where we lived and where we worked. This is another example. In this case, we built a stair to make a garden accessible that was not very much accessible before. The stair was temporary, of course. It was there for just 1 day or 2 days. Of course, this was also kind of pretty dangerous, and we were not very conscious at the time, but it was anyway fun and very interesting because it was a real experiment. We had the possibility to measure how much the space changed with the introduction of these devices. This is an installation that going on with the time, with the years, and we managed to make these experiments last a little bit longer. So this is a project made in Terni in 2012. And it lasted a week. It was made on an invitation from an architecture festival. They needed a stage to make the events, and so we proposed to make a stage that could be disassembled in many parts, and so could also work as an ensemble of devices to the use of public space for the inhabitants of the city. So this is how it worked. This kind of this way of doing things never stopped, actually. So we still do things like this today, and it remained a very important way of action in our course. So the idea to make an experiment in which we put some stuff in the space and we study and we listen and we watch how these objects change the use of the space, change the perception of the space, and creates interactions. So this is 2006, so many years later in the Azore Islands, and this is called Casa do Quarteirão. It's basically the same idea. This thing lasted longer, I think a couple of years, but in the end, it's almost the same idea to just put another layer on what already exists and have a look to what people do with that. And this is a few months ago in Bolzano. Again, this is called co-carts. They're small movable machines, but just the same approach. So let's go to the next way of action, and I called it setting up places. It's related with the first one, but has a deeper relation with the places in which we work. So from these architectural happenings, we managed to move to a more structured way of realizing landscapes and public spaces. The first case was a project we did in Roma in 2012, and also in this case it was on the occasion of an agricultural festival that was called Babel 2. It was organized from a squat in Rome that is called Forte Prenestino. It's very old and famous cultural center in an occupied military structures from the 19th century, and they were organizing this big festival. They did not invite us. We invited them ourselves. So we went there and we asked, can we do something? They said, yeah, okay, but we don't give you any money, of course. So we found some very small sum and some resources. I will go there in a while, in a little bit. And so what we did was trying to modify a place in a way that is at the same time temporary, but not so ephemeral as before. So this one, it's called Spazio Open Source, and is a public space setting of a place. This is the map that the organizer of the festival realized, in which they identified all the areas in which things could take place, and we decided and proposed to work on the outside, so on this threshold zone that is just in front of the entrance of this big military structure that is completely enclosed. So it's some kind of a different world, and everybody had to go by this just one door. And so everybody was walking on this in this garden, but the garden was actually completely empty. It wasn't used in any way. And so we proposed a temporary project in this place. And, the idea was to realize some kind of a theater that could be used as to make events, to make some kind of shows or whatever, but at the same time could work as a device for just staying there, for living in the garden, and to connect the city to this cultural center that is Forte Prenestino. So this is a picture of the project when it built project. and it really worked a lot. After the festival, the organizer of the festival and the manager, let's say the managers of the squad, actually came to us and asked if we could leave it there, because at the beginning the idea was to dismantle it after a week, but then it worked so well that it stayed there basically forever until it's just dismantled itself. And so this was a big success. And this project let me introduce the theme of reuse of materials and the use of resources, because when we were trying to understand how to build this thing, and we had almost nothing, we had the fortune that one of the studios that I mentioned before as our inspiration sources, that is Ram Labor Berlin, was invited in Maxi in Rome, in the Museum Maxi, to make an installation. So it was exactly the same period, and they made this this thing called Officina Roma, trash villa also, and it was some kind of a house built almost exclusively with material reclaimed from different parts. And so windows and parts of carts, bottles and oil tanks, and so we went there. We met them. We talked with the museum administration, and we asked if we could get some of this stuff, since it looked that it was very in line with the installation. And so they said yes, and so we had the opportunity to go there and dismantle the installation ourselves, take all the material, and built our Spazio open source. And this was great luck and also great work, because we had to dismantle the whole thing by hand. The next theme is that in this Spazio open source, we wanted to make some light. We wanted to have some kind of lighting for the installation, and but it was pretty difficult because it was outside, so outdoor. We didn't have money to buy complex tools or devices or products that was fit for this. And so we researched a bit, and we found these plastic balls, plastic spheres that were used inside some beer containers, disposable beer containers that were used for some kind of artisanal beer in many pubs of Rome. And so we find a way to transform these things into lighting products, and it worked pretty well. And it's pretty much of a coincidence that 2 years later we were invited from Museo Maxi to participate in a competition that is called Young Architects Program, and was made every year since 2011, I think. And so we were asked to make a proposal for the exact same space in which coincidentally the Officina Roma installation from Ram Labor was set. There is this red area here. And so we tried to use the same approach that we used before, and we proposed an architectural device that was just as another layer imposed over the square that already existed, and was composed by this structure here in the center, and some benches that created a theater in the back, and a canopy. So the idea was to enclose a space and to have to create a different space that was separated from the square, but not completely, that could be used for events or for just daily life of the inhabitants. And we were shortlisted, and then we won. And so we had the opportunity to build this this architecture, this structure. That was a very big turning point for our work, because the scale, of course, changed, and we had the real commission. It was the very first time we had something that resembled a commission from a client, and but we tried to use the same approach that we used before. So we have many aspects are just the same. This is the installation from the back, and here you can see that the space that we gave life to is in some way similar to the ones you saw before, and it really changed the interactions between the inhabitants, the people, and the square. That was already open and usable and usable, but not very useful. So suddenly, a lot of people from around the districts around came to use the space, and also the museum could use it for organizing events, concert talks, and whatever in short period of time. So in specific periods of time. One aspect that we brought to this from our previous work is exactly this upcycled beer containers transformed into lightings, and the scale of the intervention is completely different. So during the competition phase, we said that we will find 300 of them. Then when we won, it was a little bit scary, because in the previous installation there were 20, and so we had to really get along, make friendship with a lot of bar and pubs owners or managers, and we managed during a couple of months to collect all these 300 beer containers that were transformed during a workshop, and became this light wall that was also interactive and could be used to write things or make graphics or communicate with the space. And another outcome of this beginning period was, as I said, to get to know Raumlabor Berlin exists, and other of the people that were inspiring us in the first place during our initial research. And so we were invited, for example, in 2014. This was another real success and tipping point of our work. And we were invited in Darmstadt to take part of this summer school called Ostam Project. And we participate with this structure called that we call the space cabins. There were the brief that we had from the summer school, from the festival, was to build some houses for the artists that would be using the space in the month later. So we were there in July, and then in August it was planned that some artists had some residency there. And so we built the houses, and we built also some public space below them. So here in the area that you can see here below these structures, it was a public zone, and then upstairs there was this kind of private zone for the artists. And we also in this case we kept using this idea of reusing and recycling, and so we experimented with different kind of materials. And I don't think I have time to go deep in this, but it's a very interesting aspect of our work, and it was very nice to work there, because the legislation of Germany, it's pretty much it's better to do this stuff than in Italy, where it's very hard, and a lot of things are not allowed. So it's you cannot go and take garbage from the garbage site. It's once it's there, it cannot go out anymore. In Germany, it's a little bit different. But anyway, another aspect that's very central to our work in this project is that they're always built together with other people that are usually students or other architects or designers. So in the way, the mode in which we build the things, it's that we are directly involved in the building and in the constructions, but we also involve other people that learn from it, learn a little bit from us, but we also learn from them. And so it's a moment of teaching and learning together, and or of building together, and also living together. So different idea, from very different idea, and far away from staying in front of the computer in an office somewhere far away. Okay, another line of research that I would like to present today, that I think it's in some way independent from this work on public space and open spaces, but of course it's also linked. I called it Playing with Buildings, and it's about reusing places. So in this way is exactly the same research, but the places that are the object of these kind of works, of these projects, are not open urban spaces, but are architectural spaces. So structures or buildings that are already there, and they're not used, and they need a new identity, they need new purpose. And of course this is very actual, it's very urgent to understand how to use these spaces. We are not, of course, the only ones dealing with this, everybody's dealing with this, but our approach is in some way a little bit different, and it can be useful in some specific situation, not all of them, of course. So the first account of this kind of experiment took place in Biella in 2013. We participated to a call from Fondazione Sella that was called Premio Maggia, and it was some kind of a competition, and the idea was to try to make some installations about the reuse of this really big ex-industrial, former industrial building in Biella. They have all this, they used to have, they still have, but they used to have much more this industry of wool. So they have all this very old, from 19th century, mostly, let's say, industrial buildings. And this is one of them. It's amazing. It's owned by Fondazione Sella. At the time was almost completely unused. And so they made this call. And we participate with that with many other studios. I think we were 10 of us. And each of us were given a spot, a section of this very big room. You can see in the picture on the left, upper left, and so everyone made a different approach. Our idea was to go beyond the installation itself, so try to make the space useful for real. And this was not really the idea of the competition. Most of the other studios made something that was more dealing with communicating the thing, or dealing with the thing in a conceptual way. But we often are very much pragmatical and literal. We take things a little bit too literal, also joking about this. And so we try to make a room, a space that we could actually use as our studio. And this is so this is the process of building it. We also have had very few materials. We used very poor materials. We played with the idea of wool, and so we found a producer that were using wool from ships to make this architectural. How do you say in English? for insulate things. So and this is these white panels are made from sheep wool, and so the interior looked pretty much like a real studio. So in few days we built this real room. The quality of the picture is not very good, but so we also made this kind of small terrace. It was very nice, and it was very quiet, and was very nice environment. And so this was our first experiment in this way. And then the same year we started working in Firenze. And sorry, I don't have many pictures of this, but we built some not very temporary, but kind of temporary structures for a co-working called Impact Hub Firenze. And then we kept working on this kind of research. So in 3 or 4 years ago, we started in Belmonte in Calabria to work on this small village, and we together with Le Seppie collective, and we're still working on that. We did many workshops, many iterations of this idea, and we are slowly but constantly transforming this big house that is public, is from the city administration that gave it to the project. And so step by step, little bit by little bit. So we started with the doors, then the floors, and then the bathroom. So every time we go there, that is 2 or 3 times a year, we built a new piece. And so this process is ongoing. At the same time, we try to make some installations in the public space, so in the urban open space of Belmonte, also to involve the citizens and the other people from the village. There's a village that is very much empty, so it's left empty from the people going away, and so in search of new identity and new purpose, as many other places that we work with. This is another project that has some relations with this, and is it's called Civico Civico. Is a new project from this year in Riesi in Sicilia, from this summer, and it's ongoing. So we've been there in the summer, and we will go back there if everything goes okay soon. And we worked on the outside of this small town, but also we work on this building that is reclaimed from mafia and is given to the city administration, that then gave it to the Diaconia Valdese, and that organized these initiatives and called us, invited us, and so also in this case, the idea is to put a new layer on an existing space, or existing structure, and to make it useful, to make it usable from people to make something. Also, if it's not forever, it's okay, because the purpose is just for now. So the time when we are very much interested is now, today. So few resources, quick processes, and this building is usable now, instead of maybe being useful in 5 years with a traditional process. Okay, the last section, it's not the last one, but we have more, but the last section of this story is Prossima Vertura, is a project that is very unique, because it's a real commission and is a public work. It's based in Aprilia. It's the outcome of a competition, of an architectural competition that we won in 2017. And it's a very big work, and it's still ongoing, but it's almost over. So it will be probably opened. It's a square. It will be probably opened in the next month, and so you will, if you follow us, you will see a lot of stuff about this very soon. And so this was the space before, so in which we made our proposal. It's a very big, very large residential public housing district in Aprilia, but is also very linked to Roma, because a lot of people were transferred almost forcefully from Roma, from some kind of district in Roma, and moved there. That it's not so near, so it's pretty complicated story. And these districts had these very big open spaces in the middle that were never actually built, so they were just like this. So we participated to the competition. We proposed a project that was that had different characteristics. The first one was to try to use the space as soon as possible. So exactly as we did in the other cases, in the other occasions, the idea is not to wait to the end of the building site to use the space, but to try to use it as soon as possible. So open the building site as much as possible, even if it's very hard and there is a lot of laws that forbids it, but try to find a way. Try to communicate the project as much as possible, and to involve the citizens from the very first day, and then to organize the area in different sections, in which some of them are more structured, are more designed, but there is a very large space that is called Piazza Bassa, that would be in English the Low Square, that is pretty much open, pretty much empty. And this is to give space to other events, to other projects, to other things that we don't know yet that is going to happen in the future. And so these are the drawings from that tells all this process. Basically, there is also a park that it's already been involved from the project. We're trying to link everything together. These are some pictures of the building sites of some months ago. Actually, it's a lot forward than this now. All this part here is the high part is finished already. The low square was already finished in this picture. So you can see there is very much empty space to give the possibility to events and things to happen in the future. These are some pictures of the participation project that involved many artists. In this case, it's a photographer, but many artists were involved in the process. During the building site were organized workshops and different kind of events to try to communicate and involve these citizens. There were almost many of them were watching the building site from the windows, and so but they had to have given the possibility to know what was happening and to maybe also tell something about this and what they thought about this. So these are some pictures of the workshop that we did with them. One of them was to build this wooden path in the central green space. One other was to build this table. And so different occasions in which we could meet the residents could meet together, we could talk about this and all these things. As you can see, these workshops, these initiatives were made during the building site. As you can see, the building site, we have fences here, the building site was actually active. And this is, it was a very big challenge to do this. So I'm basically almost on time. Strange, very happy about this. And so I will present the last project that is called Vuoto. In the questions that some of you sent me before, somebody asked how we reacted to the closing of the last year since we work in public space. That's a very good question, and this is the answer. So last year we were suddenly separated from our outdoor spaces that we love and in which we work, in which we live. And so we were just like today on Zoom, and we were talking what to do about this, what can we do, what should we do. And so the answer was that we collected all the things that we brought during this period, and we collected all the pictures, many of the pictures. In the 2 months of the lockdown, we were asked to make interviews, to make articles, and so we collected all this because we didn't really know what to think about this in right away in June. So the first thing was to not lose this period. And the idea was to make first like a PDF, and then we say, well, we could print it, and then we contacted a graphic studio in Milano that is called Atto, and it's made by two very, very good and smart graphic designer, Andrea and Sara, and so we asked them if they wanted to collaborate on this, and they said yes. And so we made this first book, and we called it Vuoto. That is, of course, a reference to this empty space that our city have became, but also about the empty space that we love, because we like empty space, actually. We're not afraid of it. So empty is also the space of possibility of things that can happen and interactions that can take place. So it's about the ambiguity of this situation, and since we really love the unexpected and the open processes, we said, okay, it's the first book, it's a book, but maybe it's not the last one of this experiment, of this adventure, and so we called Vuoto 1. Leaving the possibility to some Vuoto 2 or some other things that could happen later. And so the subtitle is Vertigo, and it's about a little bit of this attraction, but at the same time fear of the empty space. So these are some pictures of the thing. You can see all the pictures that we took and the experiences we had in this strange lockdown period that we all experienced. After this, we try to give some kind of identity to this project in the idea of letting it continue in the future. And so we started with this list, to telling what was not and what it was at the same time. So it's not a book, it's not a magazine, it's not an artist book, it's not a journal, but at the same time, it's all these things. And so we finally found out the definition. So vuoto is I'm sorry, this is in Italian actually. So I'll try to translate it. Vuoto is a transmedial public space born to host collective researches about the city as an unstable system, by public reflections about the unpredictability as a paradigm, and production of physical and cognitive landscapes based on the idea of unexpected, and researches about non-deterministic modes of interventions on the urban, on the city. So it's very wide, it's very vague, but we like that because we, as I said, we really like open processes. And so after some months, we came out with this Vuoto 2, that is a second issue of this kind of, is a magazine, it's not a magazine at the same time. And in this second book, we didn't write almost anything, but we invited some very good friends of us to tell us what they thought about how the city was changing in the after COVID, in the after lockdown, in the months of the summer and the last autumn. And so we collected a very wide and extended collection of articles and point of views about this. And so it's published. It's unfortunately sold out, but this is the book. And so Vuoto is actually expanding. It's some kind of the natural, it became the natural outcome of our 10 years of research. And so we're trying to put together all the concepts we have and the ideas, and trying to communicate more and with more people. And so the third initiative is called Frattempo Vuoto Talks, and it's just started some days ago with this talk from Nicholas Henninger. Vuoto Talks is supported by University of L'Aquila. And so you can see some pictures over the first talk. You can see here the next talks that are, I think, very interesting. So small commercial spots, commercial time. You can follow them on YouTube if you follow our social, or if you go to Vuoto Talks, vuotos.yxz/talks. So thank you very much. I'm here for your questions, and I hope that this has been interesting for you.
Thanks, Jacopo. It absolutely was. Thank you very much for this presentation, but also for unveiling us so much about your work and your process. I have plenty of questions, but I just maybe reserve them for a chat in between the two, and use this space for questions from students. Maybe Ilaria can
yes, the two students, the two group 23, 24. Can you turn your video and your camera, if you and your microphone? Yes, there. Please, Andres, Burak, Matteo, Elisabetta. Sorry. Yes. Wait.
You're not allowing them.
Yes.
Yes. You're too mean.
Sorry.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Andres.
So maybe we can follow the order of the group, if you agree.
You can start if you want.
Okay, I will start then. So first of all, thank you, Jacopo. It was very insightful lecture you gave us. Very nice images and spaces you and your atelier create. Very inspiring as well. And my question is about urban regeneration projects. So following the website of your atelier, I was thinking that regarding the psychological research and participation process of your projects, how do you reach stakeholders, for example? Are associations in many of the cases the most suitable for a participative development? If you can share some thoughts about this. Thank you.
Should I answer right away, or should I answer you? I maybe prefer to answer right away.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so thank you for your question. I would say two things. The first is that associations that are present in the space are, of course, the first interlocutore, the first ones which we talk to, of course, if there is some organization, if there's somebody interested in that space, is of course the best way to get to know them as soon as possible and to relate with them. But at the same time, we like to find other ways also to speak with the ones that are not represented by this, because what we learned is that often the structures of this kind of structures of this organization represents some point of view, but not all of them. And so it's important at the same time to give voice, to give to listen to the ones that for some way decided to not interact with the associations, or to or didn't have the chance to interact with the associations for whatever reason. So the best tool that we like to use is to be there in the space with our bodies and work there to find some reason to be there, not just be there like this because it doesn't work, but find some reason to make something in the space. And so this gives very often the possibility to speak with people.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Very straightforward, thank you.
Someone can go ahead with the question.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, if I can, I would like to make a question. Okay, I want to ask, in your project, you use kind of open processes, if I understood well, during which the architectural design receive new input even after the construction has started. But in this way, design is like indeterminate and risks to be unpredictable. So I would like to understand how you manage this aspect.
Thanks, Elisabetta. Is some kind of one-fit-all answer for this, but our idea is to let go about this will of control that we often have as designers. And so even if the outcome is not completely expectable, even if we don't know everything that's going to happen, it's okay. Also because we think that it's very much an illusion to have the ability to forecast everything that's going to happen in a place. So we have this idea, we learned this idea, we inherited this idea that there is the way to make the design, the project, and then it will be exactly like we thought that, no? So that in 10 years, it's going to be like this. This never happens in the reality. So we say, embrace it, embrace this unexpected, embrace this characteristic of the reality of being unpredictable as much as possible. So there is the way to think about the processes as open. So what can I say? I think there are two ways. The first one is to deal with the temporary. So the temporary for us is not about giving the space a time frame, but about layering. So we think the space. This is very much common for architecture, actually. I think so. You have structures, and then you have walls, and then you have furniture in the architecture. But in public space, in the urban space, we don't think as much as like this. So we make a project. It's just one layer. Instead, we say, let's think about layers. So we have one layer that is the structure of the space. Then you have some objects in it that can be different way temporary. Then you have some furnitures that can be maybe moved or changed. So this idea of layering. The other idea is that designing for the unexpected, I think, is about designing things that can be used in the broader, in the wider extension of ways. So as many ways, if something can be used just in one way, it probably won't work anyway. If you find a way to make something that works in 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, that's a lot better. And this is really something about the design of things. So it's a design challenge. I hope I answered your doubt.
Yes, sure, thanks.
I have one question, if I can.
Yes, Ludovica, just please, the student first with the question, and then we leave the space to other guests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wait just a few minutes. If there are any other students that have questions.
I have a question. I can go. And thank you firstly.
Okay.
And like considering that you are an office that attaches importance to the public spaces and common space setup, like interaction is very important for you. Like has the pandemic process caused an evolution in your design and manifesto? Like how did it affect, and how is it reflected in your design?
So Merve, is that right? Thank you, because I already said before, this question was very appropriate, because water is basically the outcome from this pandemic problem, is one of the outcome. We're thinking about this, of course, all day long. So we're speaking about this among each other and what we should do. I think it's strange, because at first the parks, so the public spaces were closed last year. No, so one of the first reaction in Italy, mostly more than elsewhere, it was close everything. So close the public space. There can be cause of contamination, cause of so it was. But then after a couple of months, it was suddenly the opposite. So everything should be done outside. So when everybody realized that you cannot stop the life for years, so the public space, the open space, from being the problem, suddenly became the answer. And then I think we're watching some kind of cycles in this. So like at one point it's close everything, then everybody outside, then everybody inside again. So I think it's very interesting to having the opportunity to see these transitions, and to see how people is using public space or outdoor space in different way. We all know we had this boom of outdoor activities and sports. It's not possible to buy bicycles again anymore. No? Bicycle shops are empty. Everybody's doing outside sports for obvious reasons. And so I think this is an acceleration in the process that were already active in the so the outdoor space is getting more and more important in our cities, and the pandemic is accelerating this very fast. So this is the most outcome I see.
Thank you.
Okay, hi guys, how are you? Thank you very much for the conference. And I would like to ask another thing. Like, I have been wondering, like, through this time that, okay, your interventions are basically like provisional, and also I was reading on your manifesto on the website that basically they arise on the same site where others just disappeared. So I was wondering, like, well, there is like a constant monitoring of your interventions in the places from your side, or have you thought basically of training the people that live in the site, for then they can do their own modifications? Basically, what's the permanent impact of your like interventions, of your installations on the space? That would be my question.
Thank you, Matteo. And I would answer in two ways. The first one is that it's very different because we deal a lot with temporary architectures and temporary structures, but not only with that. So we also have gained the ability during the years to create processes that last. Even if the objects don't last, the process lasts. And some example, the very big example for this is this project in Belmonte in Calabria that is lasting since many years. Even some of the objects have been dismissed already, but the relations that came out from that are actually very much stronger than the objects themselves. So in this case, we're not building only things, but we're building relationships and situations and emotions and all these things. And these things last. So this is this effect is pretty, I would not say permanent, of course, but it's more lasting. The other thing that I would say is that it's not so important that things are, that it's not, I already said this to another question, no? I already answered this, but I would like to say it again. We think that we should just let go this idea that we want to have a permanent impact on reality. So also a temporary impact on reality, it's okay, even if it's not permanent, even if it's not definitive, no? If it's not final, it's okay. Embrace it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I have a question. I want to know if in approaching with the forgotten public space, your collective tends to start from a place or from a community and its needs, such as a suburban place that is characterized by social hardships, and so give not only a architectural function, but also a pedagogical one.
Okay. Okay, let's say that to make some process start, we always need some kind of energy that it's outside of, beyond us. So at the very beginning, the energy was ourselves, because we started many processes just by ourselves. But in the years, we stopped doing this for many reasons, but also because it's not sustainable. And so right now we need some energy to be there. And once we wrote that our work is to find this energy as those people that search for water under the ground. I don't remember the word in English now. And so it's the work of the architect in this case is to really have the ability to forecast where something can work, because there is some need or some intention. This is the word. Some intention from people to make something happen, and then you can participate on this and give the right ideas and help the place to take a form, or help the people to deal with the space and facilitate all these relationships. But at the beginning, that must be something. Otherwise, it's very hard.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, can I ask also? And firstly, thank you for the lecture. I wonder that actually a little bit related to previous question, and I wonder that after these installations disassembling, I mean, in the urban memory aspect, how much time can continue the effect of the installation after disassembling? For example, if the installation was assembled in order to reactive the forgotten public space, after disassembling in this space able to forget again? Is the positive effect of the installations also suddenly finishing like their physical existence? I don't know. Do you have any inferencing about it?
We have many different experiences about this, because sometimes the effects ends just with the installation. So you dismantle the installation and the place go back exactly where it was. And this is the case, for example, of the project I showed you before, Gondwana. Gondwana was placed in a square of the small town in central Italy, Terni. It's an historical town, it's an historical square, it's already have a very strong identity, very strong way of using it. So the installation really changed the space, because people came there to make things that usually don't do there, like BMX, or playing, kids were playing in a completely different way. But then after a week, we moved the thing, we actually didn't destroy it, we moved it to some garden, but far away. So it was not there anymore. And the square in some hours just got back where it was. And so this is but in other cases, this is not, it's not the case. So I think that some kind of depends on how strong the place is. If the place it's not so strong, doesn't have a very strong identity, it's easier to change the identity of the place. And so in some way people remember that the place was in some way, and keep using it in that new configuration, let's say. But at the same time, I feel that it's important to say that this is, again, not so important, because even if something lasts 2 weeks, okay, it's not lasting some years, it's lasting 2 weeks, but in these 2 weeks, some people used it, some relations were born, and people had fun, people had good time, so it's okay, it's why not? It's fine. Of course, it's a problem if it really had very bad impact on the environment, if you used a lot of energy, if you produced a lot of garbage, so that's very bad, because the balance between the gain and the impact, it's not good. But if you have low impact because you use recycled materials, so you try to don't use energy, don't produce waste, so even if it's just 2 weeks, it's fine, it's okay for us.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. How do you define the kind of actions or device or program that can reactivate a specific urban space, generating a public space that can respond to the new social needs and allow different uses and maybe cohesion between the inhabitants? Is it maybe the interaction with people on the ground that can suggest you some actions or ideas?
I can't see you, but thank you anyway. And yeah, I would say there is not just one way. It really depends on the situation. I'm sorry to respond like this, because to answer like this, because it's I understand it's not very effective, but really depends on the project, on the situation in which we found ourselves, and it's in some ways our work. It's very empirical, so we just go there. We try to understand what's the situation, what's the place, and we don't have this kind of recipe for making the public space work, because every space is very different from the others. So the city in which you're working is very different from other cities, and inside one city you have a lot of different spaces. Everyone has its issues and potentialities, and so you have to learn this. And after you learn this, after you know something about this space, of course, the space is not just the space, it's all the relationships that it encloses and that it creates and that create it. And so after you have some knowledge about all this, you can start to have an idea, to have some kind of a plan of action. But before, it's very hard if you have just an abstract idea of the public space.
Thank you.
I think there's also some questions from the audience that are listed in the chat. Two of them are quite linked together. Lina asked how the pandemic situation changes the possibility to communicate with communities and how you are implementing new methodologies. And Ludovica is actually on the same track, asking if your concept of spatial agency involves participatory processes or not. So maybe this could be a comprehensive question for you, Jacopo.
Yes. So this participatory process is for us also difficult as a word, as a term to deal with, because we learned that it's very vague, it's very broad, what people can, the meanings that the people can give to the participation idea. So of course, participation is always good if you think about it, but in the practical world, in the real world, it can be very broad set of different things. And of course, our work can be defined as participation very often and in a lot of ways, but at the same time, we try not to use this word as very much, because we learned it's pretty, sometimes it's dangerous, because it's this kind of words that are so abstract, so vague, that everybody gives a different meaning to it, and then you think you're understanding each other, and then you're not, because you're giving a meaning and I'm giving a completely different meaning to the word. So of course it's participatory, because we like as many people as possible to participate in it. But my advice is to be careful with this word, also with the concept. Of course, I cannot think about the design process that is not participatory. Maybe this is the point. So if there is not a design process that is not participated in some way by the target, by the client, by the people that has the money, people that will use it, every design process in some ways has some degree of participation. And if it's not, it's a real big problem. But if it's yes, you don't have all the solutions. It's just you're just at the beginning. It's just a start for us. That there is the participation. Then there is a lot of more work to do. It's not cannot be just that.
Thank you.
There's a last question from Ali that is listed in the chat: how the ways and means of materials and detailing are worked to enrich an architectural design during a pandemic situation. So you get quite a question regarding the pandemic, yeah.
Wow, this is very specific. I never thought about this. How the pandemic can affect our work on materials and detailing. I really have no idea about this. What can I say? I would say it's not very different working on materials and detailing during the pandemic. And I really don't know. It's a little bit confusing, actually, because not your question, this pandemic situation, as you call it, because it's already have gone a bit long. It's already 1 year, one full year, And so we're getting used to it in some ways. At the same time, we still hope it's gonna finish, but I think we already got used to so many aspects of this that it's never gonna finish in the way we thought 1 year ago. So that we could go back to the different state, and our work changed in the way that it's a lot more hard. It's a lot harder to plan. It's a lot harder to plan everything, because you don't know if in 1 month, in 2 months you will be locked up or not, how the numbers will be. So it's very hard to book a plane, to book a train, to make a plan for a building site, workshops. In this summer, are we gonna be able to make some workshops to learn together, to build stuff? You cannot build stuff on Zoom, that's clear. So the impact on our work, it's very heavy. But at the same time, last summer it was possible, so we're optimists. And at the same time, what we like something about this, because it's very unsettling and very challenging, the idea that stuff can be expected. And this is a core aspect of our work since 10 years. And so in some way, I would not say whether we like the pandemic, but as a side effect that a lot of people is thinking much more about these unexpected planning strategies, we think that this is good in a way. So we saw temporary pop-up interventions in our city last summer, last autumn, pop-up bike lanes. We're perfectly convinced that we didn't need the pandemic to have the pop-up bike lanes, but at the same time, we think it's good that finally we have all these new bike lanes. So.
There's a last question, maybe we can take this as the last. How pandemic conditions affect the change of attitude in architectural design in near future? So here you have to be quite prospective. you're asked to foresee what the future is.
Okay, I would say the same things I said in the last answers, but maybe with more decision. So we have to learn to deal with the unexpected. So we knew this before. We knew this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Some people were writing it in the 80s, in the 70s, maybe always. Maybe somebody always knew this, but at the same time, it's very eradicated, the idea that we can have these plans, very, very nice and detailed plans of what's going to happen in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. This is not true. So this is it's clear now. This is the demonstration that it's very strong. It's very clear to everybody that it's not going to happen. So as designers, and so also as architectural designers, I think it's very important to learn to deal with this and to design stuff that can be used in different scenarios, many different scenarios.
If I may, I react to your last statement by saying that I appreciated what you said. I really appreciated what you said at the beginning. That is kind of linked to what you are saying now. Orizzontale, but also other experiences in Europe invented their path. There was no market for your activities at the beginning. There was no ground or few ground for doing such a stuff. And you with the others started to do something that then became your way to design a job, something through which you can earn money or have social reconnaissance or go to teach at the University of Florence and do researches, etc. And so I think that these have something to do with the uncertainty we are facing. I mean, our profession, and by now I'm saying something to all of you, our profession is changing, and it's not something that is happening now. Our profession always changed during history. There's funny description of the architect in some of the Dickens books that is pictured like someone who just teach, but you cannot really grasp what he's doing. He do projects, but projects are not built, and then he goes to balls and have teas with ladies, but it's really difficult for you to understand what he actually does. And so it's not something about today, the uncertainty and the blurred boundaries of what we are doing. And I think that Orizzontale activity, Orizzontale agency is a good example of a way in which you can build a field for an activity. Maybe not the same, maybe in another environment, maybe with other stakeholders or shareholders involved in the process, etc. But it was just to say that for closing the circle, I really appreciate these insight you gave us about your activity that is not common for other conferences and meetings we had. So I would like to thank you. I think we expired our time. I asked to the PhD students that are quite precise and organized. Yes, okay, thanks, Martina.
But
okay, we would like to stay with Jacopo for all afternoon long, but we cannot, and he cannot as well. So thanks again for your time and for this conference, and thanks to all the students that intervened and also all the students that didn't and just watched and listened to this debate. We hope to see each other in person as soon as possible. And Jacopo, of course, you are invited in Turin as soon as we can safely travel in Italy. We will be glad to host you here in Politecnico for a meeting and some exchange. Okay.
Thank you very much. That would be very nice. I hope it will be soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for the invitation, for the organization. It was very nice, and for all the questions.
Not only for a lecture, but also for a new workshop. I mean, yes, it could be crazy. Thanks a lot, and see you soon for the next lecture. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniele.